Hey guys, welcome to episode 21 of the Fisher Fitness Coaching Podcast. Hope you're good. This time I'm going to go through a quick run through of training intensity, which I think is really, really important when it comes to achieving the best results possible in the gym or in and out of the gym. So training intensity. So I'll go through what's called RIR, reps in reserve. I want to talk about why training intensity is so important when it comes to getting the best results, what reps in reserve is, how do we use it within our training and within training programs, and I'll go through RPE as well. So there are two essentially scales that we use, or coaches, powerlifters, bodybuilders, gym enthusiasts, bros, whatever. There are two sayings that we use, RPE and RIR. They're basically the same thing, but they have a slight different meaning. But it all comes down to training intensity. So in order for us to achieve the best results possible in terms of building muscle and getting stronger, we need to make sure that our training intensity is high. Most people just simply don't train hard enough in the gym. They have this goal of wanting to build muscle, get strong, get jacked, but the training intensity is just not there. They do half the battle is actually turning up to the gym and getting into the gym in the first place, and actually making the effort to get there is half the battle. But you turn up and you take yourself through a half-assed workout, which is yes you can argue that it's better than nothing, which I agree, it's better than nothing. But for you to get the results you really want, you need to put the work in. So when you're in the gym, I've still got a cough, by the way, so just excuse me if I do start having a coughing fit. Once you're in the gym, you should, really focus on putting the work in when you're in the gym. Because without that, you're not gonna create enough stress on the muscle, which is not going to lead to muscular or strength adaptations. So it's really, really important. For you to be training in the gym with high intensity, while still making sure that your technique is good, and you're moving the weight from A to B with high quality, and you're really focusing on technique and moving the load through full active range of movement. So moving the joint, through full active range of movement under load. So using an external load such as a machine, a cable, a dumbbell, or a barbell. Okay, so that's what I'm going to go into briefly today. So to simplify things, all you need to think about is whether or not on that working set. So remember, a set is a number of reps. So one rep is one repetition of a movement, and a set is the amount of repetitions you get overall in that single set, right? So, for example, you do 4 sets of 8 to 15 or something, for example, right? So you need to think about, is your working set, and a working set is yes, one of your working sets. It doesn't include your warm-up sets. So your warm-up sets should be basically the same movement, the exact same movement, the same exercise, but very, very light. So you're just getting the joints warmed up, the muscles warmed up. You get the muscles full of blood, getting them prepared for the movement. And the working set is your first, is your hard working set. So you need to think, right, is this set, or was the set I just did difficult? Did I fatigue that muscle? Did I fatigue the particular muscle I want to work? Let's say you're doing a bicep curl. You want to build your biceps. You're doing dumbbell bicep curls. You do a set, right? And you finish that set. I always think to myself, right, did I take my time through the set? Yes, good. Did I take the elbow joint through full active range of movement? If the answer is yes, cool. Then move on. Did I make sure that I wasn't using momentum to move the weight from A to B, but which comes under technique? Yes, cool. No momentum was used, so no energy leakage, which means all the stress is going to be on the target muscle, the bicep. Cool. And then the final thing: did I fatigue that muscle? Did I take the working set close to failure? If you think you did, then cool. You ticked all the boxes, and you just simply you need to do that on every single working set, on every single exercise you do, forever, apart from deload weeks, when you do a deload week. I'll go into that another time. But going back to how we measure the intensity, because it's all well and good someone saying, just go to failure. Just go to failure on every set. Yeah, you can do that, and there have been studies to show that you can get decent muscle growth if you take each working set to absolute failure. But then you need to think about, right, so one, is it actually failure? Because going to absolute failure is really hard work. Most people finish a working set, not when it gets to physical failure, but mental failure. When it starts to feel difficult, when it starts to feel uncomfortable, people tend to stop because, oh, it's getting hard, I'm going to stop there. When in reality, you could have done another 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 even reps. 6 reps even. Got it mixed up. So taking a working set close to failure is a skill. It's something which should be which is learned over time. I wouldn't expect a beginner, for example, who's recently started lifting weights, to be able to take a working set anywhere near close to failure, because it's difficult to manage. It's difficult to measure, and it's difficult overall because it's uncomfortable. It's painful, because that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to put the muscle through discomfort, which I've gone through plenty of time. So we use a thing called reps in reserve, or you may see it as RIR. That's clear, called reps in reserve. So in order for you to get enough tension on a particular muscle during a set, we want to be taking that working set to around 1 to 3 reps in reserve. So you'd see it as 1-3 RIR. So if you saw on a training program, if you saw 4 sets of 12 to 15, 1 to 3 RIR, then you would know that each of those working sets, you should be taking each of those sets pretty close to failure. 3 reps in reserve is still a very, very hard set. Okay, so some people would be stopping a working set around 5 or 6 RIR usually. Okay, so it's a case of understanding or figuring out what it feels like to take a set close to failure, 1 to 3 reps in reserve. So that's all it is. It's just a way to measure the intensity of the working set. If you were to see 0 reps in reserve, that means to failure. You got no reps left in the tank. You've got nothing left. You've taken your muscle, that target muscle, to absolute failure. There's nothing left. Okay. Now, I wouldn't recommend doing like close, taking all working sets to absolute failure on certain exercises. So I wouldn't recommend like the big sort of high fatiguing movements close to failure, like back squats or deadlifts. I wouldn't recommend taking them close to failure because they're very, very fatiguing, and so it'll take you longer to recover, and also it's a higher risk of injury. So when you're thinking about which exercises and in what intensity, think about whether or not if it's safe to do so, and if it's not going to completely knack you out. So let's take a back squat, for example. You would probably stop around 2 to 3 reps in reserve on a back squat, on a heavy back squat. You're more than welcome to go to failure on a back squat, but it's not fun. You'll be absolutely exhausted. And the first thing to go would be probably your cardiovascular fitness. It will sort of, that will be the limiting factor. It won't be the target muscle, which would be the quads or the glutes or whatever. It would probably be your cardiovascular lungs will give up first. So that's why it's not so beneficial for muscle growth. Like a leg press is. A leg press is less fatiguing, and you can take the working set close to failure without risking injury, because you're sort of almost, you are anchored into a position, right? There's no risk of falling over, or there's no risk of the bar or any weight falling on top of you. All right. Let's take a chest press, for example. Again, very easy to take to failure, because when you fail, you fail. There's no risk of the bar landing on your neck or your chest. There's no risk of the dumbbells falling on your face, if you fail. So the machines are very good for taking working sets close to failure. So around 0 to 2 reps in reserve. Right. So think about big compound movements. So if you're moving a bar or dumbbells, or you're lifting a bar or something like that, then you probably go around 2 to 3 reps in reserve. If you're on a machine, then 1 to 2 reps in reserve. If you are doing isolation movements on machines like leg extensions, by all means go 0 to 1 reps in reserve, because again, they're low in fatigue, high in stimulus, so we've got higher stimulus to fatigue ratio, and there's less risk of injury for most people. So things like that you can easily go to failure. And a good thing to do to really find out how intense you can take the working set is, on the first 3 sets, go to 1 to 3 reps in reserve. So you're leaving 2 or 3 hard reps left in the tank before you finish, or when you finish. And then the last working set, go to failure, go to absolute failure. Really, really push yourself, and then make a note of how many reps you do, and then write them down and try and beat that next time. It's always best to go to failure on the last set, because you've got a little bit of energy left. You wouldn't really go to failure on the first working set, because you've got 3 or 4 more sets to do. So you don't want to completely knacker your muscle out on the first working set, because you're going to be leaving other valuable reps on the table for the subsequent sets, right? So that's a lot of effective reps you're leaving potentially in the first set. So to gain muscle, it's all about getting out effective reps. And I say these, I tell to my clients all the time, it's the last 3 or 4 hard reps of every set which is the most important. These are called effective reps. Okay, so, and there's another reason why following a simple rep count, or a rep number in the gym is just not going to be beneficial. It's not very beneficial especially for intermediate or advanced lifters. If you're a beginner, picking up a little weight and doing some reps is going to have some benefit, because your muscles just aren't used to the stimulus. So it's going to get some growth no matter what you do. That's why when you're new to lifting, progress is amazing. Like, gains are amazing, because you get results so quickly. The programming doesn't have to be great. Just you literally pick up a dumbbell and do some arm curls. Your biceps going to grow. But once you're an intermediate and advanced, once you've been training a few years, the programming needs to be a lot more a lot more. I can't think of the word. Intricate. Is that the word? Yeah, there needs to be a lot more thought which goes into programming in terms of the intensity, reps in reserve, thinking about fatigue management, taking your working set close to failure. This is why the reps in reserve measure or scale, is so important when it comes to intermediate and advanced lifters. Again, not so much for beginners. It doesn't really matter too much. So if you're an intermediate or advanced, you've been training for a few years, going by the reps in reserve, RIR is very important. So it's a case of really trying to focus on taking your working set close to failure around the 1 to 3 reps in reserve. Remember, it just simply means you're stopping the set when you've got about 1 to 3 hard reps left in the tank. There's nothing wrong with going to failure on every single working set, but you're going to tire yourself out pretty quickly, which means you're going to miss out on effective reps for the second, third, and fourth set, which could cause you to leave muscle growth on the table. So reps in reserve, gone through that. RPE next, and that's basically the same thing. It's called rate of perceived exertion. So basically, it's the opposite of RIR. So the scale is 1 to 10, right? 1 RPE is 1 RPE is it's like 1 out of 10. It's easy. It's you're basically lying down. You're having a rest. It's so easy. 10 RPE it's your absolute max. And powerlifters use this because if they're following a mesocycle and you're doing a squat and it says do a set of around 3 reps, 7 RPE. That means you stop a set. You stop your third rep when you have 3 hard reps left. So 7 RPE is the same as 3 RIR. So it goes in that sort of order, right? So 0 RIR is 10 RPE, 1 RIR is 9 RPE, 2 RIR is 8 RPE, and so on and so forth. So it's very, very, very similar. RIR is used more by bodybuilders, and RPE is used more by powerlifters and strength athletes, and strength gear, strength conditioning, that sort of thing, performance based. So it's very, very similar. It depends on how you want to work, and depends on your goal. Depends on how you prefer to follow a program, I suppose. But they both mean the same sort of thing. So RPE, rate of perceived exertion, how hard the set was or is. It doesn't always go by the lifting. You can do you can go by how hard the sprint was or the cardiovascular workout. So say someone says, I want you to do 5 50-meter sprints, RPE 6. You would know that's pretty intense, but it's not too bad. 5 is pretty average. 6, you're sprinting, but you're not sort of going absolute balls deep. I don't know. RPE 10 for sprints would be your absolute max, but you wouldn't exactly say I want you to sprint 1 RIR. It doesn't work like that. It just makes no sense because reps in reserve, you wouldn't relate that to sprinting. So that's both of these intensity scales, I suppose. Both very similar, but they're both sort of different in their own way. So if you're trying to build muscle, you're trying to build muscle, you want to be going around, in summary, 1 to 3 reps in reserve, depending on the exercise, depending on what set you're on, depending on it depends on how fatigued you are in that week, depends on how you're feeling. But a rule of thumb would be, a general rule of thumb, around 1 to 3 RIR. And with the RPE, again, it depends, but around 7 to 8 RPE for sort of general population, standard sort of normal Joe blogs. Okay, so yeah, I hope that makes sense. I hope that clears things up. At the end of the day, you need to make sure you're training hard in the gym to get the results you want. And I guarantee most people listening to this will have a lot more reps in the tank than you think. So you're probably going to mental failure. So you stop the working set when it starts to get uncomfortable. Whereas you need to be thinking, and it's quite a dark thought, but imagine if not me personally, but imagine if someone was there, imagine you were on a leg press and you were told to do a set of around 12 to 15, 1 to 2 reps in reserve, right? Imagine if someone was there with a gun to your head, and imagine if they said, no, you have to keep going. You got to do another 3, 4, 5 reps, or else I'm going to pull the trigger. I guarantee you would get 3, 4, 5 more reps. That's the sort of intensity you need to get to if you're trying to build muscle. Most people leave so much potential gains in the gym because they stop the working set when it starts to get uncomfortable. But that's when you need to continue the working set. That's when the effectiveness of the set starts, when it starts to get uncomfortable. You need to push through that and go for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more reps until you're literally you physically can't get any more out, or you maybe have one very, very tough rep left. So yeah, just a few things to think about. I think that's sort of it, to be honest. Hope that makes sense. Hope that helps. Have I left anything else out? Don't think I have. So yeah, intensity, reps in reserve, and RPE. I hope that was easy to understand. If you've got any questions about any of that, just again let me know. Message me on Instagram, Facebook, email me, and I will get back to you with hopefully an answer. But remember to share this on your story if you can on your Instagram, please. I'd much appreciate it. And any questions on coaching, let me know. I'm working on a free challenge called the Muscle Mastery Challenge at the minute. So if you are interested or you want to know more about that, then keep an eye on my social media, on my Instagram especially, and I'll be giving you more information on that. It's going to be a 5-day challenge, completely free for anyone who wants to learn how to build muscle effectively and learn what to do to build muscle effectively. I'm going to give you loads of free resources to use, loads of free information, loads of cool stuff. So yeah, I'm working on that right now. But yeah, keep an eye out on my social media because I'm going to limit it to a certain number of people, just so I can give it the best possible service to those people. But I'll be doing this sort of as and when. So yeah, looking forward to that. Anyway, I'll speak to you all later on. Cheers.